Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is the MTG Ghoul Dude, and anybody that may be new to Magic the Gathering as of, Foundations has just come out and we're seeing some new people come in, and that's always great for the game. I am MTG Ghoul Dude, and if you're stopping on the channel, just happen to be stopping by, this is a one in many video series that I've done and I've kept up with throughout my, career with the channel. And it's something that I'm passionate about because I do love me some zombies. But I do have some other ones, and it should be in a playlist near the end of the video if you watch that long, or you can just go to my channel and look for playlists, and you'll find all the different ones that I've done. But this is the Foundations digging up the past for zombies. Now, Foundations has brought us some really interesting standard legal zombies, but JumpStart not the same. They're not on the same, on the same footing on this one. So we're gonna go through the standard legal zombies first. And for those players that have been playing for a while, you probably already have copies of these, and you probably already, depending on the type of art that you prefer, standard legal cards still have they are legal if you have them from that are a different version. So if they're like a Innistrad version and you still want to play with that one, you're more than welcome to play with that one as long as it is standard legal. But without further ado, let's go on ahead and get into Foundations and Foundations Jumpstart Zombies. Starting all the way, hold on, give me 1 second. There we go. Starting off with Crow of Dark Tidings showing up in the Innistrad set for 2 and a black. This is a 2/1 zombie bird with flying. Whenever it enters or dies, mill 2 cards. This is a great reprint because of the fact that it simply has reminder text of what mill does. Because back in the day, it's just like target player puts the top 2 cards of their library into the graveyard. And that was just, ugh, man, that was a mouthful. But now we just have target when this enters or dies, mill 2 cards. So it's really self-explanatory. It names you as the player of your library. So just be mindful of that if you are playing and you're new to the game. Crypt Feaster for 3 and a black. This is a 3/4 zombie with menace. It also has an old school ability called Threshold. And what Threshold is if you have pretty much 7 or more cards of any type in your graveyard, it gets an ability. So this one has menace and threshold. If you meet the threshold requirement, this creature gets +2/+2/+2/+0 until end of turn when it attacks. Gotcha. And this is a new one on me. I don't think I've ever seen the Hungry Ghoul, but we also have other creatures that do just about the same thing. Hungry Ghoul for 1 and a black. This is a 2/2 zombie. For 1 generic mana, you can sacrifice another creature, put a counter on him. This reminds me of the old school creatures that did this and had this ability. The one that it brings to my memory the most is Carrion Feeder. And Carrion Feeder is just a menace. But the only difference between Hunger Ghoul and Carrion Feeder is a single black for a 1/1, where this is a 1 and a black for a 2/2. So, still good. Love the art. It's great art. Soul Shackled Zombie. For 3 and a black, this is a 4/2. When it enters the battle, exile up to 2 target cards from a single graveyard. If at least one of those was at least one creature card was exiled this way, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Very unique, man, that's some gruesome artwork, but still pretty cool. It looks like the zombie is carrying its soul on its back pretty much. And I love the flavor text on this one. The ritual successfully rebound her soul to her body, but not quite in the way she'd planned. So it looks like that soul's really just trying to get out. Suspicious Shambler for a 3 and a black. This is a 4/2, and it has the ability for 4 and 2 black. You can exile it from your graveyard, and you create two black zombie creature tokens, and you can only do it at sorcery speed, which is on your turn, and anytime there's no spells on the stack. But this is a really cool reprint. I feel like this is the JumpStart 2022 or 2023 reprint art because it looks anime type. So I feel like this is the art that they went with. But it also looks like 2 zombies in a trench coat. So maybe what do I know? And this is one of my OG zombies, the Diregraph Ghoul. And if you have seen a player on Arena, which you probably haven't because Arena's just so huge in the different servers and whatnot, if you run across anybody named Diregraph Ghoul or Diregraph CT, that'd be me. And this is this is the type of creature and the place that I used for my Arena profile. So if you're looking for games or anything like that, I'd be willing to drop, my Arena stuff in there for you guys if you wanted to play a couple games, whatnot. I'm always looking to do, stuff with the subscribers and everything. So, but anyway, let's get back to the video. But for a single black, it's a 2/2. But the only caveat is it enters tapped. And entering tapped isn't always bad, but at the same time, if you're playing a standard aggro deck, zombies usually like to come in and swarm hard and fast. And this kind of does it, but it kind of doesn't. Like playing 4 2/2s, 1 turn 1, 2 turn 2, and then a third one and another zombie. That's 5 creatures on the board, and that gets really rough. Especially when they all start untapping. But still, good creature. It's not pyroclasm proof, but it is what it is. You probably play blue if you're playing zombies, especially in the standard meta we're having now. The Malfed twins, Malfed, I don't know, twins for 5 and a black. This is a 4/4. When this creature dies, create 2 black zombie creature tokens. So it doesn't matter when it dies, as soon as it dies, as long as it's not exiled. If it goes to the graveyard and it's not sent there from your hand or from your library, then you create 2 black zombie creature tokens. Vile Entomber from the Modern Horizons set for 2 and 2 black. This is a 2/2 zombie warlock with Death Touch. When this creature enters, search your library for a card, put that card into your graveyard, and then shuffle. I really like these into the graveyard effects, but I feel like standard doesn't need them unless you're reanimating consistently or you're reanimating some really good stuff. And this is my boy right here. I can't tell you how many games I won just slamming a Death Baron and swinging all the zombies. For 1 and 2 black, this is a 2/2 zombie wizard, even though it definitely does not look like a zombie wizard. It looks like a Phyrexian zombie wizard. But skeletons you control and other zombies you control get +1/+1 and have Death Touch. So here's the cool thing. You can find a way to use like some kind of, and this is more along the commander lines, the EDH lines. If you could find a way to like make this a skeleton, then it gets its own buff. Because this is a zombie, if you can turn it into a skeleton, it'll get its own buff, which is pretty wild. There's tons of cards that change creature types. So, it's always an ability that you have if you really wanted to do it. But, not all people want to just change one creature type from another to something else. Anyways, this is a great creature, especially in standard. I played with it during the Eldritch Moon, Shadows over Innistrad, Amonkhet era, kind of, sort of. And it was, because this was in a core set, I believe, during that time. And man, I can't tell you how many of these guys that I have. and just the fact that it does work, especially during its standard days. There was a skeleton for 4 mana. You could play it, and then you could, when it entered, it dealt 1 damage to a creature, and because skeletons have death touch, and you could essentially play this on turn 3, then that on turn 4, you could just ping and kill a flyer or anything out of your way. So that was always pretty cool. And then we have the Midnight Reaper. This is a reprint from the Guilds of Ravnica set. For 2 and a black, this is a 3/2. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, this creature deals 1 damage to you and you draw a card. It's kind of like card draw, kind of like the Grim Haru specs. It's kind of like your morbid. What is the name of that one? It's the one creature that whenever another creature dies, you draw. But either way, this is one of those effects that allow you to get ahead as your zombies die. So this is always welcome in a standard deck, especially if you're playing lower to the ground. And finally, from the JumpStart the Foundation set, we have Zul Ashur, Lich Lord for 1 and a black. This is a 2/2 legendary creature, zombie warlock, and it has the unique ability of ward pay 2 life. Now, in Commander, this isn't that great, but in Standard, if your opponent is already having trouble keeping you at bay with your zombies, putting this on the battlefield and then being able to recast a zombie on the next turn if you can keep her is always just so much trouble to deal with. These are the kind of cards you run alongside lords. They are reanimation effects, especially if you're in a self-mill strategy or a sacrifice strategy, so on and so on. And now we're going to move into the Foundation's Jumpstart, starting off with the Diregraph Scavenger, and I believe this is from Kaldheim, if I'm not mistaken. For 3 and a black, this is a 2/3 zombie bear with death touch. And everything from here on forward is not standard legal. So these cards that you see are not standard legal. They can be played in a multitude of other formats, except for one that's actually banned in Legacy. But we'll get to that one. When it enters, exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard. If a creature card was exiled this way, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. So it's kind of like that one creature that we seen earlier. Draugr Thought Thief, another creature I believe from Kaldheim, for 2 and a blue. This is a 3/2. When it enters, look at the top card of target player's library. You may put that card into their graveyard. So it's kind of like a Mishra's Bauble, but you can flip it into their graveyard if you don't think they need it. This is what I would be playing if I could. Some zombie horde control, pretty much. Gnawing Zombie. This is another one of those creatures like the the Hungry Ghoul. There we go, the Hungry Ghoul. It has those effects that, you sack a creature to do a thing. This one is 1 and a black for a sacrifice a creature and target player loses life and you gain a life. But it is a 1/3 for its 2 converted mana cost, or as the kids say it nowadays, mana value. Good old Gravedigger for 3 and a black. Man, I can't tell you how many times Gravedigger has come in clutch for that. For a creature that's a 2/2, you wouldn't think that it's such a utility creature for being 4 mana, but it does do work. Because when it enters, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. And it's just like its own flavor text. A full coffer is like a full coffin is like a full coffer. Both are attractive to thieves. Morkrut Behemoth for 4 and a black. This is a 7/6 zombie giant. As an additional cost to cast the spell, sacrifice a creature or pay 1 and a black. So on top of the 4 and a black for its printed cost, you have to pay another 1 and a black, making this a 4, 5, 6, 7 drop. with Menace. That's a 7/6, which is still pretty cool. The Nantuko Husk. This is one of the cards I remember back in Origins. If you've ever played, if you've been playing that long, it's a beautiful card for zombie. This was a hot card for a while in the Zombardment deck, I believe, that's still running around somewhere. For 2 and a black, this is a 2/2 zombie insect, and you can sacrifice a creature and it gets +2/+2 until end of turn, which is pretty awesome. Organ Hoarder, and this is from the new Innistrad set. I think it was Crimson Vow, or maybe it was Midnight Hunt. I think it was actually Midnight Hunt. For 3 and a blue, this is a 3/2. When it enters, look at the top 3 cards of your library, then put one of them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. So if you're looking to help dig through your deck a little bit more, this is a good little zombie to help push you through a little bit faster. Shambling Ghast, first printed in the Dungeons and Dragons set. Man, this was a modern staple for me, because for 1 mana you get a 1/1, and when it dies you can get a treasure, or you can eliminate another 1/1, or if you swing with it you can even kill a 2/2. So it's pretty cool, pretty utility for me. Stitch Drake, all the way back in Shadows over Innistrad, probably further back in regular Innistrad too. For 1 and 2 blue, this is a 3/4, and it has the very unique ability of the Stitcher zombies from Innistrad, where you exile a creature card from your graveyard as an additional cost to cast it. So it's kind of like melding 2 creatures together, kind of, sort of. And then we have the Wailing Ghoul from, I'm very sure this is from Shadows of Innistrad. For 1 and a black, this is a 1/3. When it enters, mill 2 cards. So it's another self-mill type strategy effect. But this does not enter tapped, which is so good about a 2-drop 1/3. Eternal Taskmaster has new art from the War of the Spark. And I'm not going to lie, I prefer this art so much more. This is beautiful art. I love the colors, the contrasts. It looks kind of dull at first until you see the different colors popping out, like the greens, the pinks. I know I sound like an art critic, but I mean, I love these types of arts and the changing of arts, even though sometimes the change isn't as great as the original. This one is beautiful. But enough about the art. What about the card? For 1 and a black, this is a 2/3, and it enters tapped. All the good ones do. Whenever Eternal Taskmaster attacks, you may pay 2 and a black. If you do, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So it's kind of like a Gravedigger, but you just have to attack with it. Undead Butler, for 1 and a black, this is a 1/2 that when it enters, you mill 3 cards. When it dies, you may exile it. When you do, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So another Gravedigger type effect, but you have to, you're sacrificing your library to help bring it back to your hand. Dreadhorde Arcanist, for 1 and a red, this is a 1/3 zombie wizard that was banned in Legacy, if I remember correctly. This is the one. It has trample. Whenever it attacks, you may cast target instant or sorcerer card with mana value less than or equal to its power from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. That spell would be put into your graveyard. Exile it instead. This one is pretty wild, because, man, you got to be doing some things to get banned in Legacy. I'm telling you, this must have been doing some stuff. I don't follow Legacy as hard, and I'm sure as new players you may or may not follow it at all, but I'm sure you've heard about it, or you will eventually hear about it. But man, to do something like to be banned in Standard is one thing. To be banned in Modern, that's pretty bad. To be banned in Legacy, that's bad. That's really bad. To be banned in all formats and then have to be errataed on Arena, but you still can't play it in paper. That's about as bad as you can get. I'm looking at you, Nadu. But yeah, this was a powerhouse, and it was a powerhouse in Legacy. Then we have Old Gorex, the Tomb Shell. I believe this was back in Dragons of Tarkir or Khans of Tarkir, if I remember correctly. I think that is. For 6 and 2 black, this is a 4/4 zombie turtle. As an additional cost to cast a spell, you may exile any number of creature cards from your graveyard. This spell costs 2 less to cast for each card exiled this way, which is still pretty cool. It's really cool, especially if you use this as your commander. You just get a 4/4, and you can maybe even get it for 2 black. But whenever it attacks or dies, choose a card at random exiled with it and put that card into its owner's hand. So if you can attack with it enough, you can get all the cards exiled from it or that you use to cast it back in your hand and back into your graveyard if you do it right. But yeah, still pretty cool card. Very strange to see it with new art with a lot of zombies coming out of it, but it is what it is. But that is going to be it for today. I really appreciate everybody that has stuck around. We're starting to kind of dip in subscribers, but I can't always make the best content. I just make content that I like to make. And I just really appreciate everybody that has stuck around and that has continued to stick around and, likes the videos, shares them, leaves comments. I love talking to you guys. It's really fun and interesting. I like seeing, talking to people. It's what I'm a people person. So, but like I said, I couldn't do it without you guys, and I'll see you guys next time in the graveyard.